If it wasn't already obvious to anyone who's watched any of my videos, I'm primarily a Nintendo fanboy. I play Nintendo games all the time. Mario, Zelda, Kirby, Metroid, Pikmin, Splatoon, and many others. But sometimes I'll break out of the realm of Nintendo and enter a whole new world of gaming, or as other people call it, the world of PlayStation. Even though I'm definitely more of a Nintendo guy, I love PlayStation. Their games offer some of the coolest experiences you can't find anywhere else, and a select few PlayStation titles are some of my favorite video games of all time. I've always wanted to try making some YouTube videos that go beyond the borders of Nintendo, so today I'm gonna talk about my top 5 favorite PlayStation games of all time. I don't have any particular criteria or method of ranking going into this video. This is purely based on my personal experiences, and just remember, I haven't played every PlayStation game out there, so some of the quote-unquote major releases might not be on this list. So without further ado, let's go! A common type of game you'll find on most Nintendo systems are platforming games. You know, Super Mario Bros., Super Mario Odyssey, Kirby and the Forgotten Land, Donkey Kong Country, and many others. PlayStation, by comparison, doesn't have a lot of platformers to call home, but every once in a while, you can find a fun platformer to mess around in, and for this list, I picked Sackboy: A Big Adventure. I randomly came across this game when browsing the PlayStation Store and decided to give it a try because why not? But to my surprise, this ended up being a really cool game. First off, I love this game's art style. It reminds me of something like Yoshi's Crafted World, with it looking like a big arts and crafts project. There's so much style and detail put into every corner of this game, from the cutscenes to the overworld, and especially the levels. Speaking of levels, my God, the levels in this game are awesome and filled to the brim with creativity. So many of them have so many awesome gimmicks and ideas that I've never seen before in a 3D platformer. My favorite level in the game is easily this jungle level where the song Jungle Boogie plays in the background. There's also several power-ups that you can use to beat some of the levels, like rocket boots, a boomerang, and a grappling hook, which are all a ton of fun to use. Outside of the main campaign, there's also several costumes you can unlock to dress up Sackboy, a few multiplayer levels where you have to team up with a friend to beat them, and there's even some challenge levels where you have to beat an obstacle course as fast as you can, and holy shit, these are hard. I always appreciate a good challenge, but god damn, these were kicking my ass. But yeah, I didn't know what to expect when I first played this game, but Sackboy: A Big Adventure genuinely surprised me with how good it was. It's nothing that'll blow your socks off, but it's some of the most pure fun I ever had with a video game, and it easily took a spot on this list. Many PlayStation games have gone down as some of the greatest, most critically acclaimed video games of all time. However, very few of them even come close to the level of praise that this next game on the list has, and that game is The Last of Us. Even before I really got into PlayStation stuff, I heard plenty of times about how The Last of Us was one of the greatest video games ever made, and after playing it for myself, I definitely see why. It tells the story of Joel, who has to protect a young girl, Ellie, as they travel through a world taken over by a deadly fungus disease. It's a simple story, but the execution is amazing. Seeing Joel and Ellie's relationship evolve over the course of the game is really something special. They go from constantly at each other's throats to genuinely caring about each other, and it helps me get invested in the adventure as I want to see both of them be okay. Another thing that makes this game so amazing is the gameplay. I've played my fair share of third-person shooters in the past, but none have given quite as unique of an experience as The Last of Us. Resources are very limited, and you have to be careful of when you use them, as you have no idea when you'll find more resources later on. It really sells the idea that you're struggling to survive, and then there's the horror, which is superb. The creatures you have to fight in this game are terrifying as all hell. You have to try and avoid them with without making any noise, but if they hear you, they are really hard to take down. And as you get farther into the game where you have to take on even more monsters and other humans struggling to survive, let's just say that things can get intense real quick. I'm not sure what else to say that hasn't already been said. The Last of Us is one of the most gripping titles I've ever played, and I totally understand why it's considered one of the greatest games of all time. Oh, and in case you're wondering, no, I have not played The Last of Us Part 2 yet. I own the game, I have it with me, I just haven't popped it in to play it yet. But I can at least say that the first Last of Us game is one of the best experiences PlayStation has to offer. One PlayStation franchise that's really been going strong the last few years is God of War. This series has always had its fans, but I think the release of the two most recent games is when it really became as popular as it is today. I was originally going to pick God of War Ragnarok to be on this list. However, even though I've really enjoyed what I've played so far, I still haven't made it that far into the game, so it wouldn't be fair for me to make a full opinion on it yet. So, because of that, I'm going to talk about a game that I have played the whole way through, God of War 2018 for the PS4. I was not expecting to love this game as much as I did. I didn't even play the previous God of War titles before playing this one, but this game was such a magical experience. I love the characters of Kratos and Atreus. Seeing them grieve over their loss and bond over the course of the game is really fascinating to see. I love all the unique worlds you visit and crazy characters you meet along the adventure. There's tons of extra side quests to complete, and they don't just feel like mindless filler, they actually feel relevant to the world, which is great. However, the main thing I want to talk about is the combat. I have played a couple of the older God of War titles, which are your typical hack and slash games you'd expect from the early 2000s, but God of War 2018 plays nothing like those original games. It still retains some hack and slash elements, but the combat system is much more in depth, and there's tons of new abilities and upgrades you can unlock for both Kratos and Atreus. This was a risky move to have such a huge gameplay shift, but I think it worked out beautifully. Fighting enemies is so satisfyingly brutal, and the new abilities can drastically change how Kratos fights, which I greatly appreciate. Like I said, if I had played through God of War Ragnarok before making this video, I probably would have put that game on the list, but as of right now, I'm gonna have to go with the 2018 game. But you know what? That's okay, because this game is still great. The very first PlayStation-related thing I ever got was a PS4 Pro. With it, I got a handful of games that weren't bad, but nothing that really stuck with me that much. But then, I got my hands on a beautiful gem known as Uncharted: The Nathan Drake Collection, remastered versions of the original 3 Uncharted games for PS3. These games are what really got me hooked on PlayStation. They are so damn good. In fact, one of them is so good that it easily took a spot on the list, Uncharted 2 Among Thieves. I already really liked Uncharted 1, but Uncharted 2 took everything about the first game and made it bigger and better. The story is so much more captivating. You can really feel the higher stakes this game brings to the table. The characters are so much fun to follow, especially Nathan himself, who's clearly grown since the last game. Even the villain, Lazarevich, is so awesome with how menacing he is. The different locations you visit are huge and have so much more variety than, well, most of what the rest of the Uncharted series has to offer. The action is absolutely astonishing and provides some of the most fun I've ever had while playing a video game. The core gameplay is still the same as it was in the first game, but they added so much in terms of weapons and enemies. But even beyond the standard shooting gameplay, Uncharted 2 has has so many creative set pieces, from the museum heist at the beginning of the game, to the train crash on the snowy mountain, to the crumbling city of Shambhala at the end. I just can't get enough of this game. It's one of the coolest experiences in all of gaming, and easily the best game in the Uncharted series by a landslide. I don't mean to say that the other Uncharted games aren't good or anything, far from it. This whole series is filled with masterpieces, and each entry is worth playing if you haven't already. But Uncharted 2 is just that good, and one of the best video games I've ever played. However, I know an even better game that can top it. I'm gonna be honest, even before I started making this video, I already knew what number 1 was going to be. I gave the other games a fair chance, but none of them even came close. My favorite PlayStation game of all time is Marvel's Spider-Man 2. The thing is, I was originally just gonna include the entire Spider-Man franchise because I love all 3 of these games so much, but I wanted this list to have some variety, so I decided to pick just one for this video, and for that, Spider-Man 2 is easily my favorite of the bunch. Just like with Uncharted, it takes everything that happened in the previous entries and expands upon it to make one of the greatest gaming experiences imaginable. I love exploring the city of New York. It's so big, and the sheer speed of the web swinging combined with the new underarm wings makes even the simplest of tasks a joy to complete. This game and this series as a whole has one of the best interpretations of not just Peter Parker, but every Spider-Man character introduced so far. They all feel so authentic, and I love watching their stories unfold over the course of the game. But of course, the place where this game shines the most is the combat. The combat was already fantastic in the previous games, but Spider-Man 2 takes that and improves upon it tenfold. There's so many new attacks you can unlock and perform. Miles has new Venom abilities to light up the battlefield. Then we have the introduction of the symbiote, which absolutely annihilates any foes that cross your path. These attacks can also be upgraded as the game goes on, and there's also several unique costumes you can unlock for both Peter and Miles. And on top of all this, there is so much side content for you to complete. You have some simple missions like helping a student with a school project or finding a missing grandpa, and then you have super intense battles against hordes of symbiotes and breaking into hunter bases to steal information. There is literally so much to love about this game. The only main criticism I've heard about Spider-Man 2 is the story, and while I agree that it could have been longer, it's still a great story and has some truly spectacular moments that I won't be forgetting anytime soon. Just like being able to play as frickin' Venom, my god, this was so damn cool to see. Marvel's Spider-Man 2 is a towering achievement of a game. It's not only my favorite PlayStation game, but my favorite video game of all time, period. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, then make sure to give it a like, and let me know down in the comments what your favorite PlayStation games are. Also, make sure to subscribe so you can see more videos like this in the future. Have a great day, stay safe out there, and I will see you in the next one.